Welcome back. I am noticing this is saying a Google Drive error has occurred. Hopefully that doesn't get in the way of anything. Okay, so what we're going to do now, still in week two, but for the second slide of week two, is we're going to look at just the categorical variables that we have chosen. So I have two categorical and two quantitative, and my two categorical one is has a doctor, nurse, or other healthcare provider ever told you that you've had asthma, chronic bronchitis, or emphysema? And the other one is what do you wear for vision correction? So the variable names that the AdHealth data set understands are kind of cryptic. Like maybe if you're doing your research for a really, really long time and you are used to using these, you would remember what these are. But I'm sorry, most people, like when you're doing your presentation, they're not going to go, oh, yeah, good old H4ID5F. I know what that is, right? So you want to have a slightly more memorable um, name for these variables. And then, yes, the code book sort of says how many no's, how many yeses, and how many refused, and everything else. But what we'll find out is that what's in the official code book that we're using to kind of understand what's going on with our variables and what's actually left over in the data set, two different things. So this has gone through many iterations. So this is wave 4, and not everybody that was originally in the data set are still there in what we have access to. So we're going to do a frequency distribution table to see actually in our data set, in the data frame that we have in Python, how many no's, how many yeses, etc., how many eyeglasses, how many contact lenses, etc. So those are the two big things we're going to do. So I'm going to go back to week two's my research, and we have to use this package called researchpy. And it's not as simple as just importing it. You have to actually install it first. It's not one of the packages that Colab has automatically ready for you. So right after this particular command, I'm going to not import, but and I can't remember Python code. I apologize that I can't remember, but I can't remember Python code exactly. So I'm going to go back to where I've done this before. Pip install researchpy. There we go. So luckily you don't have to remember any of it. You just copy and paste. But I'm having to create this again. So pip install researchpy. So I'm going to run that. And it's going to go through some rigmarole. And then in this same line of code, I'm going to be able to import researchpy as RP. So that's going to be no, not that, as RP. Okay. So when I run this, now we have access to PD for this command, but we're also going to have access to RP. Okay, so both of those we're going to use in this particular thing. PD, pandas, to go ahead and read the data set. But now we're going to go down at the bottom, and we're going to first rename the variables that we've got. So we've got H4ID5F and H4ID14. We're going to create new variables as copies of all the data in these variables, but with a quote unquote better name. So, for example, we're going to, where is it? There we go. So asthma is what we're going to name the one about asthma, and eyewear is what we're going to name the thing about eyewear. So I go back over here, and I am basically making a new column in my data set called asthma, and I'm not going to do anything to the old column called H4ID5F. I'm just duplicating it, basically. And I'm going to do the same thing for eyewear. So when I run this, now I have, instead of 979 columns, if I were to rerun this, it should have two more, 981, right? So I've added two variables to this big old data frame, asthma and eyewear, but they're basically identical to what these old things are. And what's nice about this is, as we do stuff with asthma and eyewear, if we ever go, oh crap, I just screwed it up, I did something I didn't mean to do, we can go back here and recopy from this original thing that we're not going to touch. From here on out, we're not going to touch these two variables. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is create these frequency tables. And so a frequency table is going to use the researchpy, RP. And so the command is RP summary cat. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this over. I only need one of them because the part that I don't remember is the rp.summary_cat part. But the other part I understand well enough that I can adjust as I go. So below this, I'm going to go Shazam, but I'm not going to look at it here. I'm going to look at asthma. Should be the same, but I'm going to look at it as asthma. And there it is. And so we'll notice that we have exactly the same 0, 1, and 6, but I bet if I looked at the codebook file, that big PDF file that I looked at last week, I would see different counts. Similar percentages, but slightly different counts, is my guess. Okay, so I've done that for asthma. I'm going to also do it, make a new code block. I'm going to also do it for eyewear. And there we've got it. Quite a few numbers here that I'm going to have to figure out what the heck they're all about. But I've got frequency distribution tables for each of my two categorical variables. And that's all we need to do. So I'll see you next week.